Hey everybody, Chad from Dark Monk here. I've got a really exciting video for you today. It's to go over a technique we call overwicking. Now this is a cheap, easy, simple technique that I think you can do at home, and the whole purpose is to take an old wick that looks like this and change it into a wick that looks like this. Let's start with the tools that you're going to need. So first and foremost, you need your old wicks. Now we're using a 2-inch wide dragon staff wick today. This can be up to 4 inches wide. I would recommend this technique for anything that's not going to go into your mouth, because you will have some exposed metal. You're going to need some cloth tape. It's hockey grip tape. This stuff is absolutely wonderful. Good pair of scissors. You would need the 1/16 inch wicking. That's the thickness of it, 1/16, not 1/8, in the width that your wick currently is. Something to, if you need it, grab onto your item so that you can twist something tight. For something like a staff, pliers really aren't needed. Vice grips are better than pliers, but use what you got on hand. You need some screws. I recommend the number 6 1-inch screws. Phillips head are the easiest because Phillips head is very common. A silver Sharpie so that you can mark on stuff that already has soot on it. Some rubber bands, and then something to screw it in with. Either a screwdriver or a power screwdriver. I like the power screwdrivers, it's just faster and easier. Next section is safety. Safety is extremely important in anything like that. So before you start doing this overwicking process, you need to examine the wick and see if whatever mechanically is holding it onto whatever it is, like on a staff, the tube itself, on a dragon staff wick, the aluminum that's underneath here. I want to push around, make sure, maybe even try to tighten that with a screwdriver and see if any of those are loose. If it's a screw, just tighten it up. If it's a rivet or another mechanism that needs to be removed, go ahead and take it out. You can probably use a pair of pliers if it's nice and loose to pull it out. Before you try replacing it with a screw, go ahead and take a nail, go down into the hole and find the hole in the hardware that the screw is going to need to go into and kind of open it up a little. Like just push it in and wiggle it around. That's going to help when you go to put that screw in to go right into the hole. Next is to prepare the wick for what you're about to do to it, the overwicking technique. So take some scissors and trim off any excess old strands that are kind of flopping around. We want to get the top and the bottom to be the same diameter around so that the new wicking will lay flat. We don't want gaps between the new wicking and the old wicking because that's where it will burn up quickly. And what almost always happens is the top of the wick's just been beat up, it decays, so the outermost layer is thin in the middle and nothing on the top. So we're going to take a pair of scissors and go right under this top layer of wicking, and we're just going to trim it right off. If you go a little too deep, if you mess up, that's fine. Just make the whole thing even. Get it as close to the screws or whatever mechanism is holding the wick down that you can, and try to make it even from top to bottom. It doesn't matter if you've got a bulge in the middle. We can take care of that. Next on the list is to attach the wicking to the dragon wick or whatever wick that you're working with. Before you start to wrap, take your silver Sharpie we talked about earlier and go ahead and make a mark where the screws are or whatever attachment mechanism is. That's going to be out of the way of where the Kevlar wraps over at so that you can see it later. Take your cloth tape, cut about 1.5 inch piece is what I like to use. For a 2-inch wide wick, 1 piece will be fine. If you got anything bigger than a 2-inch wide wick, I would use 2 pieces. Put half of it on the middle of your wick. Line the edge of your wick up with that indent from where you cut back the original wicking. So line that up, put it on, and all your job is on this initial go is to line up the top and the bottom to be even. I'm not tightening it up yet. I want to fold over the end to get a nice roll on it, and then I'm looking to where that silver Sharpie mark is and making sure that I am not going to be on that. I'm going to line the top and bottom up. There we go. Get it nice and tight. That's perfect. So I'm a good 1/2 inch away from where the screws are. I've got a good nice tight weave. I inspect the top, making sure it's flat. The bottom looks good too, nothing really hanging out. Now I'm going to take one of my rubber bands, which to me is always like a third hand when you're doing this sort of work, and just put it in there to kind of hold it in place. Before you do the screwing in, go ahead and retighten. Just make sure it's nice and tight. Look at the top and bottom of the wicking. Make sure it's flat and level so that the little pieces aren't going to burn off. You need at least 2 screws to hold the top and bottom. So even a 1-inch wick should have 2 screws, but a 3-inch wick should have 3 screws. A 4-inch wick should have 4 screws. Come about 1/4 of an inch in from the outside and 1/4 inch in from the top. And what I'm going to do is just hand screw this through. Now you can see it's already coming out the other side, which is great. And what I want to do is take my top edge and try to bring it in and tighten it down as much as possible. Then I'm going to leverage the screw and kind of use it like a lever to get it kind of tight. Sorry if my hands were in the way there, but this is what I'm doing. So my angle I want is towards the middle, but not actually hitting the middle. So it's about like that, if you can see that. So it's not going to hit the center metal. It's only going to use the Kevlar, the pre-existing Kevlar, as its hold down. Again, I like using a drill. This is way too big of a drill for this. I've got a smaller drill. It'd be easier on your hands.
You want to watch your angle.
Your goal is to get it as close to the center as you can without actually hitting the center. I'm going to take my screw, same process as before, 1/4 inch in and 1/4 inch from the outside edge. Start it through and holding it where I want to. Now be careful you don't hit your thumb.
Standard rules apply.
Okay. You really don't want to hold something like that and push on it because it's probably going to hit your hand. Put it on a hard surface like this. Go ahead and drive it right in. Take your band off. Inspect your wick. I don't like how that middle section is. This isn't good to me. And I don't like that top screw. So I'm actually going to take that screw out and redo it closer to the top. I'll do that off camera real quick just to show you guys. But inspect to make sure you don't have something pulled out like that because that's going to burn quickly and the whole thing will come unraveled if it does. So I took a second to get this fixed up correctly so there's not something in the middle there. It's much harder to do this while trying to face the camera and doing this kind of thing far away from you. If you hold it close to you, put it on a hard surface and drill in. Make sure that your screw did get into the Kevlar and you got the original Kevlar and you really kind of got a good bite in there. Pull it up and down. Make sure that you're not getting any looseness from that. You don't want that to slide. And as always, examine your wicks after you burn, before you burn for the night, maybe at the end of the night as you're putting them away. That's just a safety check whether you've re-wicked it or not. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions about anything we went over in this video, something else you'd like to see, ideas for other informational videos, please put them in the comments below. And as always, have a wonderful time spinning.